here,
Welcome,
but
welcome back, everyone, to another Eat Speed podcast, number 18 episode of the most delicious podcast in the Metroplex. I'm Bud Kennedy.
188.
188.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
you're a little.
all right. Let's get those numbers up, Steve. Thank you. I'm Bud Kennedy.
Steve Wilson.
Thank you, Steve, very much. All right, we're starting out on a good foot. Our guest today is going to talk about tacos in Texas. You know, you've heard Mando Rayo's podcast, his shows on the Texas Standard, his episodes. He has a series that's being broadcast on public radio stations. Let's welcome El Paso taco expert Mando Rayo.
Hi, y'all. How are you doing?
Howdy, y'all, from El Paso or from Austin now.
Time.
Mando, the way I pitched this show, I said we're going to answer the question: are tacos now Texas official state food instead of barbecue or chili? Do you have an opinion on that?
Oh, I do. I'm gonna tell you that it's when you think about it, how often people eat chili, maybe once during the winter, a couple times. Barbecue, hey, I love barbecue. Are you kidding me? I was born and raised here in Texas, but that's that's a monthly thing. It's a monthly commitment.
I just had cheese enchiladas with chili con carne today. You mean people don't eat chili? I guess maybe not as much. Okay, all right.
Well, you're talking about the Texas chili, the official food. So then, like when you think about like how many taco trucks and how many restaurants and Mexican restaurants there are, and the accessibility of tacos in the Lone Star State, I'm gonna go with tacos. Tacos should be right now. For me, as far as I'm concerned, it's the unofficial food of Texas.
Well, we want everybody to meet you. And go ahead.
Say what?
We want everybody to meet you, and we want to talk about tacos. We'll also have a little bit of local food news later in this podcast. So hang with us here on Eat Speed. Mando, you tell us about your show and tell us what made you fall in love with tacos across Texas.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'm Mexican. I'm Mexican. I'm Tejano. I was born and raised here, and I always say I was born with a tortilla in my hand. And so, I think it's part of the culture. It's part of the culture that you see here in Texas, whether you're part of it, you grew up with the Mexican American roots or Chicano roots, or if you actually are a transplant into Texas, I mean, you were eating tacos. So, for me, it's an extension of my culture for sure. But it's also, a way to engage people, not only in the food and how it's made and the recipes, but where that food comes from. And once you understand where that food comes from, the people behind them, understanding their stories, the migration patterns that happen. And to be honest, there were a lot of tacos here already. This was part of Mexico. And so for me, it's definitely I guess it's my passion, if you will. My passion turned into actually a job, which is awesome. And so I started, back in the day when people blogged. So we started a taco blog called Taco Journalism. From there, wrote a couple books, The Tacos of Texas. That turned into a PBS docuseries on YouTube. And then from there, we actually created the United Tacos of America, where we travel across the U.S. and talk about tacos and taco culture. But here back in Texas, I was like, we got to bring it back home. So I pitched our Tacos of Texas podcast to Austin's NPR station here, KUT in Austin. And, and it just kind of went from there. And, for me, yeah, I always say tacos we use tacos as a Trojan horse to understand people, communities, and even social issues, social justice issues around, diversity, around gentrification,
sure.
Those kind of issues. So for what I try to do with our podcast is bring in those elements, not only of the food, but also like, well, what are the certain issues that are tied to that? So you'll see some of our episodes that are really focused on that food, like birria, or like the roots of discada in the El Paso, West Texas area, where there's a mix of cultures with the Chinese railroad workers, as well as with the farm workers, Mexican farm workers, and how that disc kind of came to be. So we explore culture through that vehicle of the taco.
Since you mentioned birria, and since birria tacos are a fad now that's lasted more than a year here, that suddenly caught on, and everyone had to start doing birria tacos. Hurtado Barbecue, the Mexican place in Arlington, is one of the main places, and there's a little place on Belknap that's known for it. Here we have Mando's Beef Birria.
That's right.
Tell everybody who is not accustomed to birria tacos, about birria tacos and how they differ from the other tacos that we get.
Sure. Well, birria is actually rooted from the state of Jalisco, Mexico, and it actually came through San Diego in California, LA. The traditional birria is birria de chivo, which is goat. And then the Tijuana style actually came through with using beef. And then that really kind of stuck here in Texas because we are a beef heavy state. And so it's a stewed meat that's cooked over, a long period of time in chiles, in onions and garlic and cumin. And what it does, you could do like a roast, definitely ribs, beef ribs, and that all, the beef ribs kind of gives it that heartiness, of the stew. And then the traditional way was just to eat it, in a plate or in a bowl. But, I think, with the taqueros, they kind of wanted to, get into that birria game and serve them with the tacos. They do the dip thing. It's great for Instagram. Yeah, exactly. So
there we go.
Yeah, that's La Tunita. And that's a quesabirria where they do the cheese sizzle on the tortilla. And man, it's just delicious. And so it's a big, it's happening, pretty much, across America, really. But it was rooted out in California. Now we're doing it big time here in Texas. There's still some places that are doing it like the traditional style, which is goat, but they're more so they're doing the beef. But it has a really rich flavor. Depending on the spices, they're more like savory spices, or the ancho chiles or the guajillo chiles. Though the picture you showed, I'm a home cook, so I'm always cooking.
Okay.
So yeah, exactly. So I eat what I write about.
and there are probably about 10 restaurants now serving birria tacos. Paco's out in the Fort Worth area. Paco's, Hurtado, Panther City. Quite a few of the smaller cafes and trucks have them. Steve, why don't you flip through some of the other food that Mando showed us pictures of, and let's talk about some of these other tacos. Trompo. This is from Dallas?
Yeah, that's from Dallas. That's from Dallas Trompo, Luis Olvera. He's out in Oak Cliff. And that's actually one of my favorite taquerias. It's this Monterrey style Trompo, which is you see it right there in the photo. And it's a variation of the al pastor, but it's different.
I was going to ask this. This is what we usually see and think of al pastor.
Yeah. So it's a different recipe for sure, and so but it's that Monterrey style, and it's he usually does like on Tuesdays a pop up at his restaurant with live fire with coals, which is really nice. And they're small, they're street tacos. You can eat 4 or 6 at a time, and they're delicious. I think he just opened up a new place in East Dallas as well. And so, and Luis is actually part of one of our episodes called the taco economy. And so we really focus on, this idea of like, well, what does the taco bring? What the taco dollar, what does it bring to Texas? So we talked to Luis and what it takes for him to open up, his own shop. we talked to the Restaurant Association here in Texas, and then we also talked to the Pew Hispanic Center, Pew Research Center, around the impact of Mexican restaurants in the United States as well as in Texas.
Well, it's probably 30% of the restaurant economy, at least 30 to 40%.
You know what he said? He gave me this amazing stat that 1 in 10 restaurants in the United States are Mexican restaurants.
Yeah.
You know,
Steve, what other tacos do you want to ask about? Did you see some photos?
Some barbecue that with the tortillas. We see a lot of that around here.
Yeah.
This is Eddie O's is in.
And that's in Houston.
In Houston.
Yeah, Eddie O's Texas Barbecue. So part of that story.
This is a great marriage between barbecue and tacos. This is great.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because it's part of that Texas culture that we grew up with in our backyards, you know. And it was Mexican Americans just doing what they could, with chicken and pork, and definitely brisket, and then you had the dads and the cousins and the sons smoking outside, smoking the meats. And then you also have, the moms and the abuelas making the tortillas and the salsas and, kind of those different condiments. And it's really kind of that marriage of how you grew up in Texas around, utilizing, the beef and the pork and what have you, but also bringing in those flavors, the picos, the serranos, the jalapenos, and really something that brings it all together is the tortilla, the flour tortilla.
Are there any particular restaurants in Fort Worth or Tarrant County? You mentioned Trumpo and Dallas. Are there any you've run across?
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting because, as a taco journalist, like I feel like my job is more of a guide to telling these stories, but I allow other people to tell their own stories, and I think that's the beauty of a podcast and the shows that we've had is we talk to just regular folks about what they want to do, why they do it, how they cook it, and what's their story. But as well as back when we did the Tacos of Texas book, we had the Texas Taco Council. But for this podcast, we actually, the Daily Show, we have junior taco correspondents. So I want to give a shout out to N Eats 214, and who is our junior taco correspondent out in the DFW area, and he's always posting. And I've been to some of these, and these are pretty amazing. The Hurtado Barbecue, Vaqueros Texas Barbecue. So one of my, I just mentioned Oak Cliff, but Old School Revolver Taco Lounge definitely is in Dallas, again, I believe. He just opened up again, and those guys were in my PBS series as well. And so whenever I'm like out, traveling across the state, I'm always like, all right, what's a new spot? And here's my litmus test. If there's a bunch of Mexicans in line, it's a good sign.
So how do you get on the taco?
It doesn't have to be the Instagram. I don't just follow the Instagram.
Steve is asking what I'm thinking. Go ahead, Steve.
How do you get on the Taco Council?
And I wonder how you get promoted from junior taco correspondent to senior taco correspondent.
Oh yeah, you got to have a hearty belly.
Now there are for all the taco beginners watching this, there are only a couple of restaurants, traditional old Tex-Mex restaurants, who actually fry their crispy tacos in the shell. Joe T. Garcia's has been around since 1935. Yep. The original, the restaurants that have been around since the 20s and 30s fry their crispy tacos in the shell, and they have the original crispy tacos, that are pinched and folded and fried, and then so people are just beginning to get the difference in the crispy beef taco, soft beef taco, the things that they're familiar with at at restaurants that are mostly mostly Texans, and they're just learning about all the different other street taco fillings and all the different ways to have tacos with.
One of my favorite fillings Salsa Limon, they do a tripe taco, and that
Yeah.
is really good. It's kind of crispy.
Crispy. We say usually say crujiente or suave. So
Yes.
crispy or soft.
Yeah, I like it. I like it crispy. They take it, they pull it out of the drawer, put it on the grill, and crisp it up a little bit, and then throw it in the shell. And that's one of my favorite. And then Gino with Revolver, he does an octopus one that I like a lot.
Oh yeah! Oh my God, that guy just kills it with the octopus and everything that he's doing. Super creative, and he does this his pulpo, which is the octopus al trompo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen that. That's like just looking at that is just super impressive. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you do get people that are used to kind of the term Tex-Mex,
old school Tex-Mex,
the old school, so you do have a lot of that. When you think of Tex-Mex, you think of queso, you think of the crispy taco, even breakfast tacos, obviously. But then there's the I don't say authentic, I say traditional. Traditional Mexican tacos are like your tripas that you just mentioned, Steve, carnitas, tacos al pastor, suadero. Actually, why don't you just read my menu?
Exactly. There you go. There's a list. There's the ABC list. Mando. Lately, there have been a couple of taquerias that opened up here. Mariachi Tacos and Valenti's Tacos, and they're vegan taquerias, and they have all the sauces, and they have handmade tortillas and fresh chopped vegetables. But instead of the pastor is a little just a little protein that a little just a little substitute in it, and they Mando, these tacos taste good and they don't have any meat. I mean, have you written about vegan taquerias?
Yeah. I've had plenty, and Mariachi's the original location. I went there. It's been a while. But I think what they're doing now with those flavors is really good, right? So it all comes down to does it have a good spice, a good is it savory? Does it have the traditional chilies that are more for kind of that flavor profile or the heatness, right? And so I feel with the vegan tacos, people are really kind of sticking to some of those traditional flavors and actually bringing that in. Because when you think about, when people think of vegetarian or vegan, a lot of people associate that with just very timid food, not a lot of flavor, right?
Yeah, so I went to Valenti's the other day. I mean, the little pastor tacos. I said, "What is this made of?" They said, "Well, it's a gluten." I said, "It's just gluten?" They said, "Yes, it's gluten, but all the salsas and the tortillas and the vegetables and the peppers and everything else were just as vivid as any other taqueria."
Yeah.
And they were really good.
That's all you have to do, get a good salsa macha on some tofu and what have you, But then again, you eat that, you're going to be hungry in an hour. So I'm going to get my seconds at the trompo.
Now, what is the appropriate number of tacos for a taco dinner? 2, 3? How many tacos do you think should be in a dinner?
Well, the traditional tres al pastor is usually your go-to, depending on the size. But in Texas, you have the barbecue tacos. They're huge. You could get full with one, maybe 1.5, depending on the how much the brisket is per pound.
You were talking about even 6 tacos earlier, so
3 is good. 3 is a good spot. If it's a smaller street taco, then I go with a 6 for sure.
A 6-pack of the small tacos. So.
There you go, a 6-pack to go with your Modelo.
Steve, where do you have any other taco thoughts? Where do you go? Oh, here's Dallas.
That's a full portion for you, right? Is that pretty much what you'll eat?
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly what you're looking for. And then just put your taco there.
Let's start with this. You look for the limes, the pico. You look for the for all the combination of flavors.
So we call this the Holy Trinity. It's the tortillas, los fillings, what goes inside, and then the salsas. And so you want to make sure you have that combination. And sometimes, you do have the obviously you have the lime. You always have to make sure you have that, especially for street tacos, and or a pico, especially if you have, depending on the style of taco. But then, like, if you're gonna do like a pork taco, that's usually go with a good creamy green salsa, or chile de árbol, goes great on carne asada. So you just gotta figure, you gotta, depending on your palate, obviously, you just gotta, like, get, and I recommend taking like salsa sips or shots. Be like,
Salsa shots.
better with this. It's like a fine wine.
Downtown, we have Salsa Limon, and they have the sauces kind of lined up in little squirt bottles with little cups that you can pour it in. So I've done that little sauce thing where you take
Take a little bit
a shot to see what it is before I put it on my taco.
Yeah, totally.
And I mentioned that I'd been to Belente's and the Blue Bonnet Circle. The sauces, they bring you all three: the deep red and the green, and then the bright orange, the avocado cream, and all the. They bring you all the choices, the poblano sauce. So you get a lot of the variety. Then I wrote this week about
as you travel across Texas, you do get that variety. Like right now, like the big thing is salsa macha. But if you go down to Brownsville, you get like a really good, like, a green sauce. Or in West Texas, we always infuse the Mexico and the New Mexico. So you get the hearty, green and the red, like usually that also goes with enchiladas.
I love that. We were in Marfa and Fort Stockton last week, and it felt like we were halfway to New Mexico. The salsas and the spices were so different. Is there anything that Dallas-Fort Worth is distinctive for or known for? When you get over to the Tex-Mex plate, we're legendary because our restaurants here have this funky thing called the soft cheese taco. That's just a tortilla filled with cheese and soaked in queso. And in Houston, they don't have that on most of the Tex-Mex menus. Is there anything in taquerias that is more popular in Dallas-Fort Worth? I know that many of the people who live here came from Guanajuato and San Luis Potosí, and that's what influences a lot of the taquerias here. Yeah,
it all depends on the influence of the immigrants that come through. But as well as Dallas has a lot of those the Tex-Mex places that have been around since the 50s. So I think that's part of the culture, as well as the new immigrant experience, where like Monterrey is a big, I think I think with Trompo, they kind of started kind of that trend, if you will. Then now you're seeing more places do Trompo. People from Monterrey. I mean, I was just down in Dallas maybe about a month ago. No. It was I was on vacation for a month, so it was like a couple of months ago or something like that. And we were working with some FC Dallas fans and doing a carne asada, and almost everybody was from Monterrey.
And of course, I wrote about Daybreak Cafe this week. Their tacos are still $1.25. It's tough to find $1 taco anymore, but their tacos at Daybreak Cafe are $1.25. The hamburgers are less than $3, and it's one of these places you mentioned. His hours are from 5 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, and so at 5:30 in the morning, there's a long line of work trucks, construction trucks, guys having their breakfast tacos and picking up tacos for lunch, and so that's he's catering to the working crowd, and he's filling he's helping fill up all the West Side workers with tacos so they can work hard every day. So.
Well, I think that's part of the impact of this taco economy. If it's people that want the flavors from home, and they start their own taquerias, or maybe it's the next generation doing it because it's part of the family culture, and they're here to serve the communities that they live in, And a lot of them, it's for hardworking people, that it's not just, you just do see a lot of great, tacos. Now you see a lot of like even taqueros that are posting to Instagram and all that stuff. And that's fine and all. But, the taco is like, there to support communities, and they've been doing it, for years. The taco truck that sets up, it's the pop-up, the small mom and pop restaurant. And so, I think part of the story of tacos is the story of immigrants. And so, and really kind of understanding like the value of like, oh, what is this influence of immigrants in a state like Texas? And that's some of the issues that we explored.
And the connections over time. You mentioned Gino at Revolver. Gino's family in Michoacan is from the same hometown where the Joti Garcia's family came from a century to go to flee Pancho Villa. They're from the same little towns in Michoacan. And I wondered in the beginning when Gino came why some of his sauces were so much like Joti Garcia's sauces. And 100 years later, he came in with some of the same, some of the same influences. I'll tell you, I was in Stockholm on a vacation about 4 or 5 years ago, and they happened to be having a mariachi festival in Stockholm, and they brought in mariachi bands, and they had actually shipped taco trucks over from Houston by boat so that there could be Houston taco trucks in the middle of Stockholm, Sweden.
That's amazing.
It was a great suite. I said, what this is like being in Texas. I walked up and started talking to I said, there's a Texas plate on this truck. And we started, talking to the people around the trucks, and they were brought over from Houston for the festival. So it was amazing. Tacos in Stockholm.
Were they school buses? Because I was going to, these
they weren't school buses.
Yeah.
They were panel trucks.
Like a trend there that they use school buses in Houston.
The school buses, they look great. That makes a great truck. We see the panel trucks more, but these were the panel trucks. But it was tacos around the world. So
well, I tell you, the thing is, like I always tell people, it's kind of funny, but Mexicans are everywhere. And whether you're in Iowa, I just did an interview with a station in Iowa. And, whether you're like in a Mecca, like Los Angeles or Chicago or Houston, I mean, you're going to find that influence, of the Mexican, not only the people, but the flavors. And, the thing is like tacos, people have been saying this for years, but tacos are the new burgers. You're going to be eating more of that and more than any other food. And why not? It's delicious, and you get the variety. It gets you. Your mouth starts watering, and you take a big old bite, and man, you're set for the day.
And what about Asian influenced tacos? I know you mentioned something about that before.
Yep.
This Texas Monthly just had a story recently about I think Gino and the from Revolver and. Omasaki, Irving.
There's another place here too. I think that has a Asian taco influence. One of the places up in North Tarrant County, I think so.
Yeah, there's a lot, to be honest. It's about when you think about restaurants in general. When you look in the back, who's working in the back? It's a lot of Latinos, a lot of immigrants,
family,
Mexicans or even Central Americans. And so they infuse that. And then, you have places that pop up that do a beef bulgogi taco. I mean, it's like the marriage of like Korean beef barbecue meets with a tortilla and instead of a salsa, they do a sauce. You know what I mean? Like whether it's a sriracha sauce or a garlic sauce or what have you. Or you have Filipinos, doing very similar, ways of cooking, and so you bring those elements together. And, we did a show with, so part of how I create podcasts and these shows is I'm a producer for a production company called Identity Productions. And so we really focus on telling stories of people of color, not only across Texas, but across the U.S. And we have one of our hostess. Her name is Isabel out of Houston, and her show is called Ate, which is an Asian hacks and cheats to Asian cooking. And so we've always kind of played around with like, you know, like how do we kind of bring all those elements together? Because you're in Texas, you're gonna, you know, you're gonna eat a banh mi taco and with, you know, French bread at the same time. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of that influence, especially coming through Houston, because it's so diverse. You know, it's the most diverse city in America. So you get those flavors, and it's part of that Texas culture that you see. So it's not limited, you know, just to kind of the traditional tacos that you see out there.
I love remembering when I was in Corpus Christi in a sushi restaurant and a strolling mariachi band came in, and I thought, you know, that this is I know I'm in the real part of Texas now. So.
Exactly.
Mando, I need to mention some restaurant news for just a minute, and then we'll let you tell about your show. I mean, Steve, I don't know what you have. I want to just remind everybody, Restaurant Week runs through Labor Day. You can get lunch for $19, dinner for $49 at B&B Butchers. Some of the others that are good deals, the Rise Souffle for $39. Bunnell's, Grace, Waters, they all have $49 dinners. And Silver Fox is doing it as carryout. If you want to take your $49 Lena Pope Charity Restaurant Week special dinner curbside and take it home and stay out of the dining room, Silver Fox is doing that dinner curbside. And the one news item I've got is that the Tavern on Hewlin reopens September 1st. And until then, try Town Grill in Alliance, which is just like it. Steve, do you have any other food news or things?
No, I did a couple of restaurant weeks last week, and it was great. It's just really nice.
Where did you go?
Let's see. I went to B&B, and I went to Wicked Butcher.
Okay.
And I think Wicked Butcher, I think they finished up already, but so you can't go there, but that was really good.
Right. Mondo, tell us.
They had an 8-ounce steak, and they had shrimp, and that's really good for the $49.
People loved Wicked Butcher. I'm sorry that they didn't continue it through Labor Day. You can still go to Wicked Butcher or RTB, the rooftop bar at that hotel, and you can book those on Resy.com, R-E-S-Y. They're not on Open Table. You have to look on Resy. Mondo, tell everybody where to see your work and hear your work.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So go to identity.productions. And so what we really focus on is storytelling from a point of view of people of color and through food, through lifestyle. You can catch us on Instagram, Identity Productions, identity.productions.
And on the Texas Standard, is that right?
Yeah, and so the podcast, you can listen to us on Tacos of Texas, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on KUT or KUTX Studios. You can just Google Tacos of Texas podcast. And so there's new episodes coming out every other week. So I believe we just published our 4th episode, and we cover everything from, you know, the roots of certain foods, like a discada. If you don't know what that is, you know, we can look it up. We talk about taco misinformation, or the taco economy in Houston. We spend time 24 hours with a Tex-Mex pitmaster, if you will. Yeah. And then also, like, we talk to folks that, you know, aren't on Instagram or on the radar. So we just go talk to mom and pop taqueros and taqueras and tortilleras about what it takes to, you know, to survive, you know, through COVID. And so we really explore a lot of those issues. And then we have our old episodes on YouTube. Look up Tacos of Texas. We have United Tacos of America as well. And definitely, you know, reach out if you have a suggestion of a place that we should talk about or should go. We're always, you know, luckily we've been, you know, doing this for quite a number of years now. My partner and I, Dennis Burnett, and you know, we've been able to, you know, find different stories from across Texas, you know, from the Valley, McAllen, and Brownsville to West Texas to East Texas. You know, we kind of have, and then we have a lot of help with our junior taco correspondents.
How do you get, if somebody wants to be a junior correspondent, who do they contact?
They can contact me, send me a message.
They have to mail like proof they've had a taco.
They have to know their taco game, though.
Okay, they have to be on top of their tacos.
And it has to be more. It has to go beyond the photo. They have to understand the community, you know, at the core.
and the people. Thank you for talking about tacos, Tejanos, and everything wonderful about all the wonderful foods that people bring to us here in Texas. We hope, Mando, that you'll come back and be with us again soon.
I'd be happy to. Thanks so much, y'all.
Thank you. Until next time, I'm Bud Kennedy.
And Steve Wilson.
And I'm Mando Rayo.